Alright, next we look at what mid-game fighting needs. Here, black approaches on this side, white jumps, black attaches and backs off, and white pincers. Can you hear me? If there is no sound, exit and come back in. Now, students, how should black play here? When we look at this position, we must look at the whole board. This is not really a calculation problem. If it were calculation, you could sit and read. This is about mid-game judgment. Black pincers here. First, let us read the position. In this position, black does not have enough territory. The shape on the top is especially painful. White has scooped out the corner, so this black group is left after the corner was taken. The top has no points, and white is also alive on this side. Black has no obvious territory, but even without clear territory, we can clearly see that black is holding a stick. When you are holding a stick, what are you supposed to do? You start looking for the bad guy, looking for the enemy. Let us look at a few students' choices. The first is the small diagonal move. Teacher Liu feels this is a little slow. If we allow white to extend along this side, I guess you may want to pincer here. That pincer is powerful. White cannot play here now. If white plays here and gets pushed through, this whole side probably collapses. I cannot see a good rescue for white. When white hains, black should not Atari. If black Ateris, white slipped through on the first line. If black bends instead, white cannot escape. When white pincers and black Ateris, is white really going to fight this ko? Black is not afraid of it. Even if white wins the ko, white can only capture here, not eat here. So this ko feels tasteless for white. White can only Atari first, then extend along the side. That variation gives black the feeling of having power but no place to use it. Although black scored in the lower left and took away white's corner, from the whole board point of view, black's territory is still extremely pessimistic. So even in a local fight, you must still look at the whole board. J17 followed by a bottom invasion also works, but white remains manageable unless black completely cuts off its roots. Another student chose to pincer directly here. Locally, there is a joseki for this. White can cut, and black cannot kill this stone. Why can't black kill it? First, black cannot block. Can you calculate why it cannot be killed? First, black cannot block. If black blocks, white rolls black up and kills the first shot. Second, if black connects, white crawls. Black can neither hain down nor attach, so black can only bend. If black bends, white first stands up and fattens black up. Then black still has no good fight. For safety, white can crawl once more. Now black definitely cannot fight. White can Atari from the left. And black dies too. So black cannot fight a capturing race. Once white cuts, black has no good continuation. In the Hoseki, black can only Atari on the second line. That is clearly not black's original intention. Here, two students play very simply. Black simply attaches out, white can back off once, but as long as black plays here, black attacks this group. One student gave a reference diagram, white hains, black attacks, black bends and jumps, then cuts and ateris. Now it gets exciting. This student has a very broad view. Look at this mid-game idea. In the mid-game, the key is finding the thread. Many kids look at the board and their eyes go blank, or they stare through the position. I always want to ask, are you actually thinking about the game? So look at this sequence. Black's play is good. One student's idea is simpler. He does not know exactly how white will answer, so he attaches first, backs off once, and then attacks from this side. That idea is correct. After that, black still has a cut and Atari on the top. Good move. White's group is under heavy pressure. Suddenly, the mid-game feels easy to play. Alright, these choices are relatively simple. Now let us look at the actual game. In the game, black bends, white hains, and connects. White hain connects to surround the top, which is understandable. Then black Ataris once and extends. This Atari then extend is the shape point. Why not simply extend? Sometimes you must Atari first, then extend. If black only extends, white connects and black's bend becomes goatee. Black can no longer borrow strength. With Atari first and then extend, no matter how white captures, black still has forcing moves. At the very least, black has a stone inside white's shape. In the game, white presses. Now I want to ask, how should black play here? Remember our theme. Actually, I have not stated the title yet. I wanted to summarize it at the end. Black to play. How are you going to move? Students, if black hanes at the head, do you know what white will do? That is the topic we must understand. What local options does white have? One is to extend back, which should be the proper move. But do you know why white attaches? White attaches, then later pulls back. What is white trying to do? If we do not understand white's intention, we cannot decide how to answer. White is trying to create a cutting point in black's shape, tempting black to go back and repair it. If black takes that bait, white gets sante and extends along the side. This move is not the hane that our students mentioned. Everyone gets excited about that han, you han me, I han you. But that hane is bad. White can only back off, then black presses again. If white still wants to hane, black cuts. White is much shorter on liberties here. If white's moves 2, 4, 6, and 8 only gain about 8 points, while black's 3, 5, and 7 build huge influence toward the bottom, white's 4 moves are not profitable. So we must understand white's intention. White's retreat is clearly goatee, so white first attaches and pulls back, trying to create trouble for black. Once we see that intention, we can judge the position. First, let us look at one student's idea. He gets fired up. Is this even go? Black plays here, white Adoris, and captures. What exactly did you attack? This is a little overexcited. Black still has to pull back, and black gets nothing. All the stones are on the first and second lines, so of course it is bad. Another child chose a proper jump to reinforce. White jumps and black hanes. Ma Yibo and Henan both reinforce this way. But sometimes you cannot reinforce blindly. Here, black must seize the timing. Hane at the head. Black need not repair the cut yet. White cannot exploit it in time, so black should press on the left. One student's choice was also pretty good. He directly pressed, so he had the right feeling. But it still feels as if the head is exposed. When it rains, your head needs an umbrella. Here, these two heads are bare, so black can hane first, put up the umbrella, then come back and press. That becomes powerful. That is a good move. In Go, do not just follow the opponent. White is baiting black with the cut, but cannot exploit it before black lives in the corner. What is there to fear? In the actual game, black haned, white captured, and black connected. It was solid, but white took sante and extended along the side. Here you can clearly feel that white played better than black. Look at the whole sequence. White hanes, connects, Adoris, connects, retreats, then attaches again. Black hanes and connects, then white extends. After this string of exchanges, white's level feels slightly higher. White fixed this side and strengthened that side. Black is too slow. So black cannot just follow white. One student's direct press is not bad, but I worry about white hanging over. White can still live in one move, so black probably cannot seal white in sente. If white hains and hains again, black can only retreat. White presses and lives, and suddenly the outside becomes white's. So in this diagram, black should consider haining first, then pressing before white can touch the cut. That is mid-game sharpness. Can you feel it? Mid-game sharpness is a timing point that disappears in an instant. You can hain first and then play, which feels much better. Now, let us look at another position. This is also from a real game. White attaches, black hains, and extends. This position does not require calculation. It is about feeling. Where should black play? First, let us see how this game was lost. White attaches because white does not like being sealed in. White wants to feel comfortable. Then the black child plays very seriously, working hard move after move. But as the game continues, black's position becomes less and less optimistic. In our own games, do we ever have this feeling? Many times we do not know how we lost. Was I serious? Yes, I was serious. But sometimes we very seriously play a bad move. That is normal. As your Go level rises, you have to review how you play your own games. Do you have a habit of following the opponent? You follow once, and when the opponent plays the next move, you suddenly realize, I have fallen into a trap. Strictly speaking, white's move was very careless. White was ahead, and the game was easy to play. White's own weakness was here, so white should have looked at his own defects. Instead, white ignored them and went looking for black's defects, then got counterattacked. Good move. This is exactly, do not follow the opponent. Black crawling over is a classic negative example. In the actual game, white probably attached here first. Do you know what white was preparing? White was preparing to capture this group. Because the black child was too obedient, always trying to play the proper move, White quietly closed the door and then pushed and cut. Black struggled for a long time, eventually escaped, but still lost the game. Black only captured 4 dry stones, while White became extremely thick and had plenty of territory. From beginning to end, Black was bullied by White. So in that game, Black had to seize one chance. Honestly, I almost do not even want to play this move. Just counterattack quickly. But for consistency, hitting once usually does not lose. Then, as long as Black does not crawl over, Black is fine. So the mid-game theme is Active Counterattack. The title of this lesson is the Midgame Method of Active Counterattack. Do not be too passive. Now, let us look at the next problem, an extra section. In this joseki, Black has suffered a loss. Black fell into White's prepared trick, and the upper left is bad for Black too. Which side would you prefer? No need to type. Of course, White is better. But this extra problem is about one thing. Do not get impatient during an attack. Now let us play little teachers and look at the later sequence. After these moves, look at the position again. At first glance, it is no longer obvious who is better. White to play here, then the game reaches this point. I feel Black has recovered a lot. White is still better, but Black has recovered a lot. If Teacher Lu reviews this for the child playing White, what can I say? The student may find it unbelievable. I clearly had a great position. After 20+ moves, why am I suddenly close to losing? Have you had this experience? Even I have. You feel the position is good, but after a few moves,
Where did
something
the
is
problem
wrong. happen? In this sequence, we mainly study White's problem moves. Black was already far behind at the start, so there's no need to study Black too much. Please find White's problem move among these 25 moves. One student says 13-13, White 13. Forever move 13. Anything else? Mainly 13. Another student says 17. we are not mainly discussing black. The key is white, because everyone can see that white was originally better. How did it become unclear? White's grand outside influence has almost disappeared. So how should we understand this? First, the corner approach itself has a problem. The first move already has a problem. How can you make fewer mistakes in Go? In what kind of state are you least likely to make mistakes? Who can answer?
I think it is because black has a hanging move on the top.
No, the question I am asking is, what state makes a person less likely to make mistakes?
I think it is being serious and keeping your attention focused.
Focused attention can reduce mistakes. That is certainly one answer. What does one student think? Maybe there is no microphone. All right, my understanding is this. What kind of position is less likely to make you blunder? A position you can easily handle. My former teacher once told me a classic sentence, "You lost this game by playing yourself into a loss." What does that mean? It means you played into territory you are not good at. Even if AI says the win rate is still 95%, that is useless. In a big capturing race, every next move must be correct for that 95% to exist. If one wrong move drops you to 9.5%, is your level enough? When the position becomes too complicated, the reason you make mistakes is you made the game too hard for yourself. It was not the opponent who confused you. You confused yourself. This move is typical. I asked the student why he approached the corner. He said, "Teacher Liu, I wanted to make this shape." I said, "Can you actually handle that position?" Extending on the side is enough. If white extends, white knows how to play. With so many stones surrounding black's one group, isn't it easy to handle? If black plays here, white can cap an attack, bringing the fight into the area where white has more people. That is better than fighting where white has fewer people. So Teacher Liu criticized the very first move. The jump and pincer are fine. Then move 13 arrives, the move everyone denounced. Where should white play now so the game is easiest to handle? Let us look at a few students' choices. First, one student's absolute control. Let's see how big this claim is. Teacher Liu, this move is a flying press, very generous. Then, peep, salute control. But what exactly are you controlling? Teacher cannot understand it. This is another classic way kids lose, getting impatient inside an attack and playing themselves dizzy. Let's continue that student's line. White blocks, black retreats, white hangs, and suddenly black comes out. You try to hold him down, but he extends again. Have you controlled me? Where is the absolute control? Raise your hand. How does your absolute control control anything? This is not you controlling me? This is me controlling you. Soon, that student is about to say, "I resign." Not yet? The student says the mouse slipped. No, this does not work. I can still run out. Teacher Lou is so excited he cannot speak. If I run out, what will you do? This is the student's mid-game absolute control. If you want to talk about absolute control, you might as well learn another student's diagram, flying press, lose one stone, then lose a second. And since you already lost two, you might as well lose a third. That kind of control is at least stylish. One student jumped, and another student did too. But there is one move I like more, the crawl. Why choose this crawl? First, the upper side is still quite messy. There is an Atari, then a capturing race. Even if black is one liberty faster, white connects in cente, black blocks, and black's outside becomes solid, so this area is not really controlled. Black still has these tactics. The simplest crawl is the highest level move. White removes every weakness, then calmly tells black, "Sit down and show me how you plan to run." This crawl is an extremely calm move. At this moment, you pull the fist back and clean up your own weaknesses first. That is the rhythm of switching between defense and attack. In the game, white actually missed another chance. Playing here was also good. You must learn this feeling, pull the fist back, make yourself strong, then punch it out. That is good. Most kids rarely have this feeling. But one student says, Teacher Lu, did you forget me? No, this jump cannot get through. Black Adoris then pushes through, and white falls apart. So this cannot control anything. Your idea was right, but the technique was wrong. In the later game, white plays the 3-3 point. This is comparable to another student's 3-3. You cannot randomly play 3-3. Look at another student's diagram. He plays 3-3 and turns away. The thinking is not connected. White could have attacked perfectly well, so why suddenly turn around? These 3 stones are exposed to the opponent's firepower. So the key of this position is pull the fist back, patch yourself clean, attack, then punch it out. Do not get impatient. First, strengthen yourself completely, then let black show how he plans to escape. Do you understand? All right, that is all for today. Goodbye, kids.